Sorry? Yep.
First,
Got you here.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. Can I have roll call, please?
Mrs. Brooks,
Here.
Mrs. Cordero, Mrs. Bassett,
Here.
Mrs. Shields,
Here.
Mrs. Smith,
Here.
Mr. Thomasini,
here.
Mrs. Howard. We have a floor.
Thank you. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act was passed to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice and to attend the meetings of public bodies in which any business affecting their interest is discussed and has to come. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Rockaway Township Board of Education has caused notice of the date, time, and place of said meetings to be published in the Daily Record, the Star Ledger, and be posted in all schools in the district, in the municipal building of the township, and the township library. Does any board member wish to object to the conduct of the meeting for the purpose as stated in the public notice? All documentation and materials considered by the Board of Education as part of this agenda are available for public review and comment. Members of the public are invited to come to the Board of Education building off Green Pond Road during the regular business hours of 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday to Friday if they wish to inspect any of the records items. Can I have a motion to waive the pledge?
So moved.
Second. Hands. Resolved that in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the Rockaway Township Board of Education will meet in closed session to discuss matters involving personnel, litigation, acquisition of real property, security, negotiations, receipt of governmental funds. The content of said discussion will be disclosed to the public at such time and to the extent that is required by law. May I have a motion to go into closed?
So moved.
Second. Show of hands. 6:01. Thank you. We were reading that to make sure we let Christine. Christy, can you hear us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, she can now respond. Oh, she's muted.
Motion to adjourn closed.
So moved.
Second. Hand. Please stand for the flag salute. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, good evening. We are going to jump right in to our public budget hearing.
People are saying to, I think we can take it from here, okay? Great. Well, good evening, Rockaway Township. I hope everyone is doing well. Before I begin with our budget presentation this evening, I wanted to acknowledge and thank and appreciate all of our visual arts teachers and students. If you happen to come on a little early tonight, you had a slideshow of all of the artwork our students have produced over the course of this school year. At our last board meeting, our middle school students were highlighted, and tonight it was our elementary school students. If you missed the slideshow, I have good news. It is on our website. So please take a moment to view it and see some of the amazing work our students have produced over the course of this school year. Let me begin now with our budget presentation for the 21-22 school year. This first slide is meant to communicate to the community the timeline that we follow in district for creating the school year, the budget for the school year, for the upcoming school year. In prior years, this timeline was followed tightly, beginning early November. However, due to the pandemic conditions of the last school year and delays to that audit, this timeline was crunched a good bit. However, I want to acknowledge and appreciate both the central office leaders and our school leaders who worked very diligently on a crunch timeline to ensure that we still met all of the deadlines in creating the budget for the 21 and 22 school year. Part of that planning included this year the central office leaders spending time in person with each school leader to ensure that all aspects of their school-based budget were being valued appropriately in the overall district budget and planning for 21-22 school year. The other key aspect of planning the budget for the upcoming school year is to ensure that you start with your district goals. These goals were adopted in our strategic plan this past fall and continue to influence all of our planning and design going into the 21-22 school year. For the first goal statement, I did want to highlight a couple of values. First, the idea of personalized learning and what it means for us as a district to be valuing personalized learning in all that we do, ensuring that differentiated instruction is a priority and that we're using data to inform our decisions about our planning and interventions for our students. That is valued in this goal and is a priority for us going forward. The other idea that is valued here is the concept of transference, the idea that our students are able to apply knowledge they've learned from one subject area to another context. And so those are values that are part of our planning, they're valued in this budget, and there are aspects of the work as we think to 21 and post-pandemic times that we'll want to be talking about and engaging our teaching staff and our school leaders about what it means to ensure that those values are living in our classrooms on a daily basis. Our second goal talks about our values of ensuring we're creating a supportive culture for all in our district, for our students, all of our staff members, our leaders, and our families, ensuring that our district is a welcome and inclusive place for all of our stakeholders. And this goal and the specifics of the strategic plan articulate how we intend to achieve that goal and create those conditions in our district on a daily basis. And the third goal is a bit more specific. The theme of it relates to facilities and security. However, it also is very explicit in calling out the importance of ensuring that KDM is able to install a new water treatment system in compliance with the most updated regulations by the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. And I'll have some updates about that just shortly. This next document was created as part of our strategic planning process. It's referred to as a plan on a page. It's a one-pager that I use to update the community 3 times a year about key milestones and benchmarks that we've achieved, specific to promises and commitments we've made in our strategic plan. The first bucket, academic success, I want to just highlight for the community briefly. Under the planning phase there, I'm excited to report we're beginning to move from the planning phase to the in-progress phase already, with the launch of the co-teaching model at Birchwood, as well as the expansion of the pre-K services from not only continuing DBO, but also offering those services at Birchwood this September. Both of those projects remain on track, and part of the work of tonight's board agenda is actually reassigning teachers to launch the pre-K program at Birchwood, as well as the professional development for the co-teaching model, which did launch this month at Birchwood. So really excited about those specific projects and excited that the 21-22 school year budget funds these projects fully. Under supportive culture, I wanted to highlight and acknowledge the community forums this year need to take a much different form because of the pandemic conditions and the need to have more regular updates to the community that mostly took the form of my community updates, which I know early in the school year were coming out twice a month, and now we've really reduced it to once a month. And so just want to assure the community that our commitment to ongoing and transparent communication, post-pandemic times will remain firm, and community forums, when we know it's safe to do, I'm excited to bring them back to in-person meetings throughout the course of the next school year. And then lastly, under the bucket of facilities and security, I wanted to highlight a couple of projects in the planning phase that we actually anticipate to stay in the planning phase a bit longer. The idea of building a design thinking lab at CBS is still very much an idea that we're exploring. However, we're going to keep that in the planning phase for the 21-22 school year so that we can allow the new curriculum, the new elective classes that we intend to launch in 6th grade and after school clubs at Copeland in the 21-20 school year, which are supported by this budget, to take hold and for us to learn from the experiences our teachers and students are having with that new curriculum, as we then, a year from now, contemplate potentially moving forward with the building and constructing a new design thinking lab here at Oakland. But for now, that will stay in the planning phase for one more year. Second, we had initially thought that the DBO HVAC system and window project would launch this summer. In reality, we're not going to be able to begin that project this summer, and instead the window project will come first, and that will begin late fall into the winter of this current calendar year, and then we would be on track for the HVAC system construction to happen during the summer of 22 at DBO. So I just wanted to highlight both of those updates for the community, and the staff at DBO was updated via a virtual meeting this past Monday. The next few documents go into some greater detail about where we are with our strategic plan, again, aligned to the same goals I've been speaking about here during this presentation. I'll highlight a couple items here under goal 1 that I think are critical as we think about transitioning from the pandemic conditions that are operating our schools under to the post-pandemic world, which we hope will be mostly in place by September. I wanted to highlight the F&P benchmarking system. We went forward this year, we began to implement and train our elementary school teachers, provide professional developments on the F&P benchmarking system because we think it's super critical to the overall implementation of the Reader's Workshop. Now, we did have to slow the pace of that training due to the conditions of the pandemic throughout the school year, but we remain committed to that professional development, and we remain committed during the third round of universal screening assessments towards the end of May and into June of this school year, ensuring that all of our elementary school students are assessed in person with the F&P benchmark system. We think that's critical because as our teachers' understanding of the different levels of the fundamental benchmarking system deepen, it will deepen and inform their instructional decisions and planning within the context of the Reader's Workshop. But I just wanted to speak to that specific element under goal area number 1 as something that remains critical to our planning. Next, on this part of under objective 5, I just want to highlight for the community that the 21-22 school year budget does support the position of a special education supervisor in the district. This is a brand new position, and it really aligns well not only with our goals of academic success and agility, but also aligns really nicely with our goal of ensuring a supportive culture for all, because this position is going to give us the capacity to provide more tailored support, professional development support, curricular resources support to our special education teachers, to our students, to our child study team members, and we are on track to have this position filled for the start of the 21-22 school year. Next, under goal area number 2, just wanted to highlight again, I know I spoke about this a couple of board meetings ago, but our district has really had some great success this year with our character education applications and awards. Every school in the district itself has now been honored as a school and district of character. And it's a real testament to the work that's been going on in our school for many years and the leadership in those schools to really ensure that rituals related to social and emotional learning and health of our students are taking hold on a daily basis. And when we think about not only living through the pandemic conditions of the current times we're in, but bringing our students back, social and emotional learning and meeting the needs of our students' social and emotional needs is really going to be mission critical. And so knowing that our schools have been acknowledged for their work in this area through these character education applications is just something that we're super excited about. And then next, I wanted to highlight that we did relaunch the PTA Council. The PTA Council is a monthly meeting that occurs between myself, Assistant Superintendent Higgins, and all of the presidents of our PTA. And over the last several months, we've been having those meetings, and I wanted to use this opportunity to just thank and acknowledge all of our PTAs. I know as we come back more in person instruction, our PTAs really come to life. And while I know we can't allow the volunteerism to be in person in our schools, you have been so generous with your resources in supporting all of our schools, supporting the planning for end of the year activities, and the partnership all of our schools have with our PTAs. It's really come to life again these last few months, and I can't thank enough all of the volunteers across all of our PTAs for your commitment to our success. And then lastly, under goal area number 3, I did want to highlight the specific project I alluded to earlier, which is the KDM water treatment system. Over the past couple of weeks, we achieved a great milestone where we as a district achieved a permit to construct a new system, which meant that the design of the new system met the regulations set forth by the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. That was a milestone that we've been working towards candidly for the last 18 months. So I'm excited to share with the community that the project remains on track. I will provide detailed updates to the community throughout these next couple of months and into the summer to ensure that we open in September with the ability to operate that new water treatment system as well. So I just wanted to highlight those, and everything I've spoken to tonight in line with these goals is supported in with our 21-22 school year budget. With that, I'm going to pause. I'm going to hand it over to Assistant Superintendent Higgins, and he's going to talk through some more exciting investments we have in store.
Good evening, Rockaway Township. So for the coming school year, 2021-2022, we have some things planned for our budget process that I'd like to let the community know about. So we have lots of curriculum updates planned for next year. Originally, the state had adopted several pieces of new standards that were supposed to be on a timeline to be implemented in the fall of this coming year. Those things have been rescheduled due to the pandemic conditions. So that makes our next year a very busy year. So you can see in the slide here that we are looking at several different curricular projects that we'll undertake to revise curriculum to match the new standards. Some of the things we're most excited about are some of the work we'll do here at Copeland in 6th grade ELA and also the grade 6 elective cycle that Dr. Janame spoke about. District-wide, we'll look at science, social studies, guidance, world language, and visual performing arts as revision areas. Also, new for next year district-wide is iReady ELA. You may have heard us talk in the past about our use of iReady for math, which is a diagnostic and assessment system that also provides students with a customized learning path. We now are adopting that in our ELA area as well. This will give us one consistent data point in various K through 8. We'll now be able to track student progress as they course through from K through 8 along a consistent route. Also new for next year is a new preschool curriculum called Tools of the Mind. The preschool teachers did a lot of research over the last 2 years and have selected this as the tool that they're going to use going forward, and we're very excited about that arriving here shortly. Also, we are making an investment in each of our 5 elementary schools for level book rooms. One of the things that we really feel committed to, since we are using the Mountains of Now benchmarking system, is the ability for us to meet students where they are and to teach them exactly what they need to know at each of these different levels. Level book rooms will allow teachers to do that, allow teachers to select sets of text that they can work on specific skills with students who have similar areas of strength and weakness within reading. Also, we are going to continue the use of Clever for our student rostering for educational technology applications. In a year like this one, it's proved invaluable for us to be able to quickly roster and make sure students have access to digital materials. That will be a continued use for us next year. Mathematics update specifically, we are now moving our Ready Math to grade 7 here at CMS. Last year, remember, we did K through 6, and we are moving that into our 7th grade regular math classes here at Copeland. That also means, too, we are still using iReady, which is the digital wing of Ready Math. We're using that K through 8. So even though the students in grade 8 aren't using Ready Math as a textbook, they are getting access to the diagnostic and the digital coursework that's available inside of iReady. Also, we are continuing to do our professional development with Ready Math. We have dates booked already with them next year to help our teachers become more and more familiar with Ready Math. As you know, this year was a year in which we tried to have a full implementation of it, but some of the aspects of social distancing and things like that didn't allow us to use all the parts of Ready Math that we wanted to. So we built continued professional development to help with those areas. Also, the other bullet you'll see over there is that this year we were also budgeted for Conquer Mathematics, which is a professional development program that's run here in New Jersey for math teachers. It is a wonderful program, but since it is an in-person training, it was canceled for this year, so we're not able to send our teachers to the program, but we are working to do that for next year. And lastly, we also have spent another year looking at our intervention services K through 8. So the first thing you'll see on the list here is additional reading specialist at Birchwood Middle School. We are putting a lot of time and thought into revamping the response to intervention system here at Birchwood. The addition of that reading specialist here, in addition to the one that's currently here, will help us do that. It will help us provide more individualized and small group instruction in reading here at Birchwood. We also are revamping our universal screening process. You'll see we have listed the tools that we'll use across the grade levels. We'll have iReady Math and iReady Reading, which will run K through 8. We'll also have Compass and Vanilla benchmarking system, as we talked about, in K through 5, and a cadence reading, which is a crucial tool we use to look for reading difficulties in K through 2. And so we'll continue to use all of these different data points to help us work with the RTI teams in each building so that they can see trends and they can progress monitor students that are really needed. And with that, I am going to turn this back over to Mr. Brown.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. So my first slide highlights exactly where money is coming from for this robust budget that we've planned for the 21-22 school year. Our total budget for the year is just about scraping $60 million. If you look at the pie chart, the largest portion is from local taxes at almost $48 million, with lesser amounts coming from the state at $3.4 million and $617,000 from federal sources. We have slightly over $4 million that comes out of our reserves to finance our capital projects. And then there are some other small amounts that go into making $59,988,000 budget. So now we know where it comes from. Let's take a look at how we spent it. So the first area of expenses is our instruction, which totals $21.4 million, or about 35.7% of the total budget. As we scroll down, the next portion is what's called undistributed expenses. It starts at tuition, and goes to health and social, and speech, OT, and PT, and it continues on the next slide with curriculum, library, administration, central services, and so forth. That totals $32.5 million, or 54.23% of our total budget. The last portion that we have of our budget is our other expenses. So we have $4.7 million, or 8% capital expenditures. We have charter school tuition, special revenue funds, and our debt service, which is a payback of our bonds from many years ago. That is a little over $6 million, or represents 10% of the entire budget. So our total budget for the 21-22 school year is $59,998,466. Our next slide shows how our tax levy has been increased over the past several years. So from about 2014 to the current time, into 21-22, it's hovered slightly below 2%. As you can see, it was 1.86, 1.95, 1.98. And for 21-22, we're looking at a 1.97% tax levy increase. We'll look at our state aid history over the last several years, from 14-15 to next year, shows that it was level for about 4 years, went up for 3 years, and now it's leveled down slightly for 21-22. but we were fortunate that we did not lose very much in state aid, and we were able to make the adjustments to handle the budget and have the tax levy come in under 2%. So, what does this cost Rockaway Township community? Based on the average assessed value of a home in the district of $355,263, it's an increase of $4.96 per month on the average assessed value home. And that ends my financial report of the budget, and here is the information if anybody has any additional questions. Thank you.
And if I could, just as a final thought, just to acknowledge Mr. Carlo for leading this effort and creating this budget that's during these times. We appreciate very much value your leadership. So thank you very much for that. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions? I'd just like to piggyback on Dr. Canadian. Thank you for not only providing us a balanced budget months back. It was pretty awesome stuff. I'm very excited to see that even with the hiccup in the road that we had this year, we still have a lot of stuff still on track. Okay. During the course of the board meeting, the Rockaway Township Board of Education offers members of the public an opportunity to address issues regarding the operation of the Rockaway Township Public Schools. The board reminds those individuals who take this opportunity to identify themselves by name and address and to limit their comments to items listed on the agenda and/or items directly related to the operation of the school district. Issues raised by members of the public may or may not be responded to by the board. All comments will be considered and a response will be forthcoming if and when appropriate. The board asks that the members of the public be courteous and mindful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Specifically, comments regarding students and employees of the board are discouraged and will not be responded to by the board. Students and employees have specific legal rights afforded by the laws of New Jersey. The board here bears no responsibility nor will it be liable for any comments made by members of the public. Members of the public should consider their comments in light of the legal rights. Those affected are identified in the comments and be aware they are legally responsible and liable for their comments. May I have a motion to open to the public? So
Second.
Show of hands. Do we have any members of the public?
Yes. Brian Adams.
Excellent.
Am I good to go?
You can speak.
Okay.
Brian.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Brian Adams, and on behalf of Tara Van Norden, we represent the Rockaway Township Education Association. This week is Teacher Appreciation Week. In our role as co-presidents, we are always proud of the members we represent and all they do for our community. This has not been an easy year for our members. The pandemic has created many challenges for us, not only our teachers and certified members, but our staff assistants, custodians, and secretaries as well. No matter what our job descriptions read, we help educate the children of Rockaway Township. Despite all the countless challenges, the members of the RTEA continue to give their all for the students and the community. This year we held 4 Pride events. Between our annual Pumpkin Fest, we've introduced instant classics like Pizza Pickup Night and Family Game Night. And we're looking forward to our next event in June, our Plant Pickup. Our members continue the work of the district, implementing and creating innovative curriculum. We are persistent with our focus on the social and emotional learning of our students. Our collective focus has not gone unnoticed, having been recognized as schools and districts, district of character. For the second year in a row, our members received a sizable grant from Sustainable Schools New Jersey, and our district received the Best Communities for Music Education distinction. Our staff continues to rise to the occasion despite all the challenges we have faced. Our continued success throughout the pandemic will help us focus on what our students and community need moving forward. And finally, we wish Mrs. Hellberg a speedy recovery, as she is in all of our thoughts. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Do we have any additional members of the public? No. Can I have a motion to close to the public?
So moved.
Second. Show of hands. Move on to communications. Mrs. DeBarlo, do we have no communications?
No, there aren't any.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Approve the minutes of April 21st. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Mrs. Carvalho?
Yes.
Mrs. Becker?
Yes.
Mrs. Shields?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mrs. Howard? Motion passes.
Thank you. Committee reports. Do we have any committee reports?
For negotiations, the board and RTDA met for the sixth joint session on May 22nd. The parties discussed their proposals and made progress on multiple items. The parties are scheduled to meet again tomorrow, May 6th and May 25th. Thank you.
Also, an update for operations. On April 28th, 4:30, we met at central office. Present was Mrs. DeCarlo, Mrs. Brooks, Mrs. Mezig, Dr. Tremaine, as well as a guest presenter, Mr. Artani, and myself. With that, we were able to discuss several things with our IT expert, to include Genesis, the student information system, as well as additional options that can be utilized in Genesis. We also talked about streaming of our board meetings and the issue with sound and ways we can remedy that. Additionally, we also talked about pest services, and then we received updates about the KDM water treatment, and additionally our water, and then our summer projects at DBO and at Dwyer Municipal. Thank you.
Our next education committee meeting is going to be next week, May 12th, starting at 4 o'clock. And as far as the ad hoc policy committee meeting, we're still trying to iron out that date that works for everyone. I have outreach. The outreach committee also met on the 20th of April. Following the operations committee, since it was myself, Mr. Tomasini, and Mrs. Mezig. We also had Dr. Canadian, and we just discussed our phases and our plans for outreach to stakeholders and community members. Is that it? Okay, let's move on to recommended for board action. Our first section is personnel. There is no discussion. Personnel starts on page 4 and ends on page 5. I have a motion.
So,
Second. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Mrs. Carvalho?
Yes.
Mrs. Becker?
Yes.
Mrs. Shields?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
abstain.
Moving on to HIP. Canadian, paper vote on this meeting?
We have one current open investigation district right now.
Moving on to education. Education starts on page 5 and ends on page 5. And I have Motion to approve education? So moved.
Second.
Any more discussion? Any members of the public?
No.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Mrs. Cordero?
yes,
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Shields?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Thomasini?
Yes.
Mrs. Hubble?
Okay. Moving on to special education on page 6. Special education starts on page 6, ends on page 6. I have a motion, please.
So moved.
Second. For discussion? No members of the public?
No.
Roll call.
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Mrs. Cordero?
yes,
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Shields?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Thomasini?
Yes.
Mrs. Hubble?
Motion carries. We have no administration, moving on to finance. Finance starts on page 7 and ends on page 10. This includes our 21-22 resolution. And I will say, please.
So moved.
Second. Any more discussion? I'd like just to comment on number 8, the security grant. Again, I just really love the grant. I'm glad that we're waiting for it. So I'm excited for the job. The board session? Members of the public?
No.
Mrs. DeBarco, may I have a roll call?
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Mrs. Cordero?
yes,
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Shields?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Thomasini?
Yes.
Mrs. Hubble?
Motion carries. Thank you. There is no policy to be made. Moving on to discussion items. Old business, new business,
I have a new business item. RTSAA, Substance Abuse Alliance, hasn't really met as we normally would in past years. They are still very busy. And virtual celebrity day will be on June 3rd from 9 to 12. I did send everyone a little promo of some of the speakers that we have, and I did forward that to everyone on the board. And since last year, it's really open to anyone who wants to log in and watch. It's a really good presentation and a group of speakers, and for all age groups as well. I know last year I had my little guy with me, and have some good takeaways from it.
thank you. Anyone else?
I would like to say thank you to our TSD faculty and staff for continuing to teach and help our children during this really unusual year. I really wanted to, express my appreciation, and we know that great educators, what they do for our children is what they should do. So heartfelt thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I did want to share with the community, as it is Teacher Appreciation Week, Trade night to take on Tuesday, Teacher Appreciation Day, it's time to visit as many of our teachers as we could to in person say thank you. And so I also wanted to share with the community the statement that I shared with our staff in honoring our Teacher Appreciation Week. To our teachers and staff, please accept my sincere well wishes and gratitude as I take a moment to wish everyone a happy Teacher Appreciation Week. May you all take a moment this week to step back, reflect on all you have accomplished this past year, and accept a sincere and heartfelt thank you. I know I speak for our entire leadership team and the board of community when I say our gratitude and appreciation for your daily efforts in service to our students and families cannot be overstated. During a time when schools are faced with the greatest challenges in generations, Rockaway Township educators showed up on day one and continue to rise to meet each new challenge that came our way. I know this has not been easy and not without heightened levels of stress and anxiety for all. Yet through these challenges, Rockaway Township educators came together to support each other
and our community. During a time when every day should be a Teacher Appreciation Day, I do hope everyone will take time this week to appreciate each other for all you have accomplished together. While I know there are still questions for us to address on the horizon, I could not be more confident in our ability to meet any new challenges due in whole part to the proven talent of our Rockaway Township educators. Thank you. Thank you for all you have done for our community. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your flexibility. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your skill and professionalism. Thank you for your sense of humor. And thank you for your humanity. Please know we appreciate you. And then in closing, I would be remiss not to also give a special shout out to our school leaders. With all of the changes to our reopening plans this school year, in many ways, our school leaders have faced 4 or 5, maybe in some cases 6 different first days of school. And they know intimately how much effort and work goes into ensuring those first days are well planned and executed. And each one of our school leaders has exemplified themselves this school year, so I really appreciate them as well. So thank you.
Thank you. We move on to adjournment. Now we will be returning to closed session to discuss the CSA evaluation. No action will be taken. We do not return to the public. And Tony, do I?
Yes.
Can I have a motion to adjourn public?
So moved.
Second. Show of hands. 7:39. 7:40. Thank you, everybody. Good night.